Alright, I'm posting this as more of a test. I just want to see if this playback software works the way that I want it to work. Um, in the blind community, there's actually a whole group of games referred to as audio games. So in the same way that the in mainstream circles we have sighted games, or we just call them video games, they have audio games. So one of these games is called Swamp. It's a first-person shooter. It What would be probably the best for us sighted gamers to compare it to would be something like Doom, where you don't really have to worry about height changes. I mean, there are height changes, but the game kind of handles that for you with aiming, so you really don't have to aim up and down. And those of you who are old enough to remember playing Doom, you know that that's how it worked. So in this game, they they actually do aim with a mouse, shoot. I mean, they do everything that a sighted gamer would do. It's just that it uses sound cues. There's nothing on the screen, or if they do enable it, there are some graphics, but they're incredibly limited, like just blocks of of color and things like that. It's meant so that if a person has some amount of vision, because some of the players are legally blind, but maybe when the game is blown up on a very large TV screen or something, they can make out just slight colors and things, just anything to help them out. But the majority of the players are completely blind. So one of the game modes that this has is a capture the flag, which all of the mainstream games seem to have that kind of thing as well. All the shooters have little mini games and things. So back in May, I had some of these guys volunteer to let me record one of the games they were playing. Now, what actually gets recorded is a bunch of server data, so it's not actually anything that you could enjoy that much just watching on its own. So what I did is I had that server data fed into this program that is supposed to overlay it on top of just a little cartoony representation of the map that they're on, and it will allow us to watch as they're playing. Now I sped it up slightly, just because for one, it was a guess about the actual timing, because again, I'm dealing with server data, like just a dump of data or data packets and stuff, rather than an actual a recording the same way that we would record ourselves playing a game. So I'm pretty positive that this is faster than the actual game was, but not by a whole lot. So let me just hit begin and see if this is recording. Okay, so for this test, I'm just going to explain a few things as it goes. I kind of want to put this together for my own, I guess just for myself to see how this would work, because I had talked with a few of these guys about recording the games and putting them up on YouTube, and some of them thought it would be a cool idea. So the way this works, they choose when they want to spawn. That's why these three on this side actually spawned a little faster than the red team. Let's see, where should I start? The red square, and then on this side the blue square represent the flags. So you can see the two characters here have already grabbed it. There is a trail here to show as they've traveled. Every now and then you will see very sharp 90-degree turns, like this area here. He went completely 90 degrees. Here was a 90-degree turn. They're able to use keyboard commands to quickly turn 90 degrees. Actually, it's to quickly turn 45 degrees, and it's just to help with navigation. Everything else that you see, where it's kind of squiggly, that's them moving with the mouse the same way you or I would, just steering yourself as you run. The yellow lines here that you're seeing represent gunshots being fired. I already know that there's a bug in the way this program is reading back the data, so there are times when it's going to show these yellow lines shooting long distances across the screen where a shot was not actually fired. That's something I need to work on. So it's not, how should I put this? It's not showing misses accurately. If a person shot and missed, but they were close, this playback program is kind of rounding it wrong and putting the shot to make it look like they hit. And so that was an example of this long stretch shot that really shouldn't have made it. And these are issues not with the game, but with this playback program. So I'll continue to work on that. Underneath the name, you'll see the weapon that the person is currently employing. There's a lot of weapons in the game. There's like 40 maybe, a lot. So a whole assortment of weapons. They all have their own interesting ways that they can be used. The field kit is how they heal themselves. You have to load medkits into it and fire it like you would a weapon to heal yourself. There's quite a fight going on over here. That clunking sound you heard was that a flag was returned. The scores are still 0-0, and I'm playing around with the ability to write on the screen too, because I don't know, you got to play with something, right? It would be nice if I had it display the healths of the people, but I haven't set that up either, so I may do that in the future. Just what makes this interesting to watch, in my opinion, is that you are watching people who cannot see, like, they can't see the overview like you can. So you travel around a wall back here, you don't know that the guy's standing here. They're playing this as a first-person perspective. Then what further makes it impressive is that you are watching players who cannot see at all. They're navigating this entire thing by hearing the sounds of the other players' footsteps, by hearing their own weapons. There's sound sources pretty much, I mean, everywhere. I'm not sure exactly where some of these are, but for example, let's say there's a droning sound here, and maybe the sound of a generator over here, and you can hear electric neon lights buzzing, here, here, and here. Just a collection of sounds everywhere, and by hearing those change as they're running around, they're able to tell through practice exactly where they are on these maps at all times. They can also use the arrow keys to turn on and off a radar. What a radar might do is if you are standing here and you turn on the radar in front of you, you will hear 5 beeps. And as the 5 beeps very rapidly go across, these 3 would sound different because they're hitting a wall. So they can turn on, I don't know, I think there's 8 or 9 different radars. They can be very quickly turned on and off. They have scanners to let them know which direction the nearest exit is to a building. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And it's just amazing that they're doing it so fast, you would never know that they are not seeing the screen the same way that we are. So, I wanted to put this up, I wanted to put this up to see how it would work recording one of these. And I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about it. I like the idea of posting these, because there's this idea floating around among the game community. There's like 700 players or something. There's this idea floating around that they could maybe have capture the flag tournaments that could be commentated and put up on YouTube. And I thought it would be really cool, especially if it, in any way took off and had a bunch of viewers. I think it'd be cool, for these players to be able to have kind of a fan base or something. That'd be awesome, especially for, a tournament type of a thing. The part that I'm not sure about, though, is how to put it up in such a way where, I don't want to parade people around like, how do I word this? I don't want it to seem like I'm taking advantage of people because they're blind. I don't want it to seem like that's the whole focus. Even if that is the focus, I want it to be seen as a good thing and not as exploiting people. So I'm not really sure how to solve that. And the guys that I've chatted with about this, they're not really sure yet either. They don't think it would be a problem. At least some of them don't. Some of them think it could be. I don't even know. So I'm posting this one without anybody's real names. As far as anybody knows, these are all just, generic character names. So, no harm done, even if you get a bunch of, jerks on YouTube who want to just basically harass everybody in the comment section, which is, how it always works. So, I don't know. I'm just going to record and see how this goes. But yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly commentating any of this. This is my first time watching this recording as well, so I don't really know what's going to happen. Certainly a lot of fighting going on in this area. Scores tied. As you can see, most of the time when they're playing, they're freely moving. They're freely steering themselves around. The specific directions, where they lock themselves to that 45-degree turns, is usually when they're not in combat. It's when you know you just have to travel from one end to the other. Like, for example, right here, not in the heat of battle. As soon as they start fighting, it's all, you know, using the mouse. These little like green pellet things, these would be anything from player upgrades, so you may get a slight speed boost or a health boost. They're not actual healing things, they're not health potions, if you will. They would be something like 10 points gets added to your maximum health. So you still have to heal yourself, but now you can heal yourself up to a higher maximum, which would of course give you an advantage next time you go into a fight. You get a slight speed boost. The speed boosts stack so that I think you can get up to 40% faster at its maximum. And then I think the health boost is actually like, I don't know, 800% maximum or something. You can keep picking up health boosts for a long time. Of course, if you get killed, it's all reset. You lose it all. When they do get themselves killed, they have a, I don't know, it's like a 3-second delay, I believe, before they can come back. Something in that range, 2-3 seconds. And they can choose when to come back. So if they're in the middle of talking to each other, they can wait. Because a lot of this, I think in this particular case, they were typing to each other rather than voice chatting. But if this becomes a bigger thing, and they try to take it more seriously, then it's certainly voice chat is going to be the way they're going to do it. I'm not sure, but there might be a way that I can organize and set these guys up into 2 different channels on something like Ventrilo, so that each team cannot hear each other, but I can feed both audio streams in and possibly play it from the left ear and right ear. Maybe allow us to hear as the teams are actually playing and talking amongst each other. That'd be kind of cool. Let's see here, the cars and these barricades can be shot over but not walked through. Being up on a roof gives you a slight advantage against people on the ground. You have basically there's a little bit of cover. You have a slight chance that any bullets traveling up are going to hit the wall rather than hit you. I think it's only like 5% chance per bullet or something, but I mean it helps. It's something. And then I believe you get a slight damage boost by being up on a tower, and I think that's 5% as well. So you're actually dealing 5% more damage to anybody down on the ground, and you have a 5% chance that their shot will be deflected before it hits you. So you know, it adds up. Oh, that was close, actually. This guy here, Hannibal, ran in at the last second before Uno could capture the flag, and he grabbed it. And there's this, well, it will be a score. You can hear field kits going off here. These guys are healing themselves up for the next fight. There's another blue team score. I'm not sure what the red team, we had 2 red players up here and up here. They're probably just on lookout. They might not even have realized they were both guarding the north side. Again, when you're taking the time to type to each other, it's a little tricky, and it's not like you can visually see your teammate further down the field if he's not moving. So, you know, they weren't hearing any footsteps from one another. This Vulcan here, Vulcan minigun, is just about the most devastating weapon that they can run into. So this Zorg guy, he's going to be a target. They're going to gun him down just for the sake of getting that gun taken out of the field. And until the blue flag is returned, Hannibal can't score. Now they will know where it is. They can hear it beeping on the battlefield. It's just a matter of having one of them run out to get it. And they probably are having the situation where everybody's thinking the other guys are going to go do it, and no one wants to take their hands off of the mouse and type and ask. See, now right there, you saw this Winchester. You saw the bullets actually passing through the wall to hit. That's one of those glitches by this um, replay or playback software. In reality, in the game, the bullets would have been hitting the wall and stopping. And the reason that he knew that there was a target up here when he was firing is not because he's using a wall hack or anything else, but because he could hear the muffled sounds of that person walking in this direction. So when you are dealing with purely sound, you can have some behavior that would be, similar in appearance to wall hacks and things that we run into on mainstream games, because you can hear the guy on the other side of the wall and you're focusing on sound rather than the fact that you can't see him through the wall. Oh, that was actually pretty cool. David right here had been chasing the guy with a chainsaw, finally caught up to him. I think he started chasing him way back over here. Typically, the teams are 3-on-3, which is what we would stick with if there was an actual league. The games that we have had that were 4 against 4, they were a little bit too cluttered. The extra 2 guys on the field was an extra set of footsteps, an extra set of weapons going off. Pretty much, if you overwhelm people with too many sounds, it has kind of a smokescreen effect. It muffles the positions of where things are. It's a little harder for your brain to process that many different things. So you'll end up having teammates shooting at each other, and less accurate shots. They're more likely to miss each other when they're firing, because if you had a guy right here and right here both making identical noises, your brain's going to turn that into a single sound in the middle, unless you're very careful. So they would most likely be firing between the 2 targets. But the 3-on-3 teams seem to work really well. Now, the actual game swamp, which is not Captured Flag, it's a post-apocalyptic, you fight zombies, that sort of a deal. They'll face hundreds of computer-controlled zombies, but the zombies all have very unique sounds. So, you don't mistake it for another human player. Blue's doing a good job of defending their flag over here. It looks like Zorg's been dedicated to that for a little while. Unless I stopped paying attention and he left. Yep, that Vulcan's coming in. Now the one disadvantage that the Vulcan has is you have to actually stop moving to start firing it. So you won't see a lot of people using that on the run. Usually that's a defensive thing. And he actually got himself killed because he went into the room with it, and he didn't have enough time to stop and power up the gun. They're pretty quick at changing weapons in this round. You're not even really hearing very many people reload during the combat, because it's faster for them just to switch weapons and use what they have in the next gun. I have seen a few previous recordings where the players clearly were not as experienced, and that's one of those things that I didn't really think about until now, is that in the other games you would hear a lot of reloading. The people would be in the middle of a firefight, stop and reload, and they'd usually get killed in the process. Just one of those things, I guess. You don't realize it until it's there, and then it makes perfect sense. Uno's getting the crap kicked out of him, but he's still moving. He's basically just been pumping himself full of field kits or med kits every chance he gets. Oh yeah, he's gone. Now Zorg took a minute there to return his flag. Any of us who are used to playing Captured Flag games probably know exactly what he was typing. He was asking asking his teammates if the base was clear, because otherwise he's just delivering it right back into the hands of another red player. I probably should adjust this program so that it will display chat outputs as well, but I don't know. Ideally, I would like this to all be handled with voice chat so that we can hear what the actual players are saying to one another as they play. It'll give more personality to the recordings as well. Yeah, it's unlikely that members of the blind community are going to be, getting a lot out of watching these playbacks or whatever. But I think the reason that people would want it posted is just to have a little bit more awareness brought to the audio games community. Very few people give blind players credit. They think, well, if they can even, I've talked to sighted people and they've thought, well, if blind people could even play games on a computer, they'd be limited to something like, Yahtzee or some, Hangman, little things that would barely count as games. But in reality, they're playing the same types of games, the same level of detail as the rest of the world. It's just its own little subgroup that's not very well known. At one time years ago, this swamp game actually had close to 3,500 players. At any given time you jumped on the server, there were between 80 and 100 people signed in and playing. So it was a pretty big deal. That was years ago, though. The game ended up having a lot of hacker-related problems, and the numbers dropped as a result. So now you have kind of a smaller group that's a bit more dedicated to the game. So there's good and bad to it. Oh, I never mentioned that the way this is scored is the first team to 7 is what wins. So blue is very likely going to win this, and they may actually do it soon since Hannibal over here has the flag, and I don't even know if the red team realizes he took it. Well, they're guarding the south way in. Now that M79 that you keep hearing, the boom, 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 really, really fast, that's actually a glitch in this playback program as well. The M79 is a grenade launcher. It fires very slowly, but because it's not interpreting the data properly, it's thinking of it as a rapid fire weapon. And yeah, and in the game it works fine. It's just this program. And red team managed to save themselves. I am only seeing 2 of the blue team. Oh, never mind. Zorg's over here. Can he hold the 3 off? That's the question. Oh, no, he couldn't. David got the flag the last second. Oh, LPR's screwed. Yeah, he's dead. Now, similar to a lot of other capture the flag games, oh, nicely done. The way, well, where was I going with this? Ah, I got myself distracted. Oh, I know what I was going to say. A lot of capture the flag games will respawn you somewhere else on the map, which is usually the furthest from the enemy team. So it'll radius around all the enemy players and try to place you somewhere, really far from it. In this one, you actually do respawn in your base. You'll respawn somewhere in this range, and the reason was it was very disorientating for players to be dropped somewhere in the map, and at a certain point you need to make slight changes to what's standard. Oh, I think he's dead. So we kind of ventured away from the norm just to make things a little less confusing for players. That might be changed in the future as we get more and more veteran CTF players. But for now, this is how it's set up. A bit of a standoff here. See, now the fact that LPR here has the M79, which is a single shot weapon, I have to think he's low on ammo in his other weapons because he's going to get himself killed over here. Oh no! Psyched the guy out. He had he quickly switched to 2 other weapons to finish the guy off. I don't know if that was intentional, but it certainly, you know, caught the guys off guard. Blue team ends up winning it. The score did not update to say 7. It's supposed to. This here is showing us, this program right now is set just to flash to the screen at the end. It's a heat map, which shows you where the players spent most of their time. Where you see red are the areas of concentration where red players idled the most. So you can see a lot of little dots of intensity where people, you know, maybe spent a lot of time camping in a certain place. Purple is the mix of the red and blue. So from the looks of this, I would say that along the center building, and forgive me that I cannot draw on the screen. This program, the screen drawing is disabled at the end here. I need to tweak that too. It looks like around the center building, all around the outside, that is where blue spent a lot of time and red did not, because there's no purple involved. Both bases are pretty solid purple. It looks like red spent a lot of time in the building in the center and like crossing through it, and a lot of time on the north end of the map. But no, I would say that because blue held the center, it dominated the center and kept red out. That is probably why blue did as well as it did. So I'm going to say that that's why blue pulled ahead on this victory. But, you know, so this is just a test. I have no idea how this is going to turn out when I upload it. So, you know, it's just thrown out there for people to, you know, maybe comment or something. You know, comment whether or not you think this is even worth pursuing, if people are going to care. You know, and I'll pass along what people suggest to the players and discuss it with them, and we'll try to figure out if we should proceed. Because I could, you know, still have them have, you know, capture the flag leagues and so forth. I don't necessarily have to put it up on YouTube, and I think that's the question: is it something that's worth commentating and then putting on YouTube for the rest of the world to see? So I will, I guess, stop now.